As you know, we have a number of speakers on for public comments, so we would ask that you be near the end of the aisle so we can move quickly from going from one to the next. The first person to speak is Ann Marshall, to be followed by Linda Finch.
My name is Ann Marshall, and I live at 1713 Southwest Lane in the Chesney Park neighborhood. And I am speaking as a person who lives in my neighborhood, and it's my understanding that there will be a vote by the City Council on the conditional use permit for 2035 Western for a federal reentry program. And I would like for you to approve that permit. I feel that there are some of us that have worked years to help improve Chesney Park, and I think we've done a very good job of it. We've tried to get people to come in, purchase property, put some investment into the neighborhood. And we have someone now who is willing to put money into the neighborhood, and I think it should be encouraged. The property has been empty for 10 years. The parking lot was overgrown and was being used as a dump, and it was also a place for criminal activity. The building had been stripped of all its plumbing and electrical, and Mr. Klinkenberg has come in and purchased the property and has made improvements to the building and to the property around the building. I have met with him and also with the people with the City of Faith, and I have a feeling they are, from talking to them, I think the reentry program, and I feel that it is a professional business, and that if there are any problems, they will be addressed and corrected. And it is a reentry program, and the people who are using the facility will be monitored and supervised. Instead of the building being used for criminal activity, it will be monitored and supervised 24 hours a day, and I think this will help make our neighborhood safer. I know there are people that are afraid of the element this might bring into our neighborhood. Well, that element is already there, and they are not supervised. We've had a lot of drug activity in our neighborhood, and we've had these problems. But we have worked with the drug activity in our neighborhood, and we've cleaned up a lot of the drug activity through reporting and working with our community officers, and we will probably have more drug activity in our neighborhood. And we'll keep vigilant and deal with it as it comes. And I don't think that this program will add any to those problems. And we have people in our neighborhood who are not shy about working to make sure that things are taken care of. I think some of you have dealt with some of those people. So I believe that the reentry program is neither illegal or immoral. And I hope that when you vote, you consider what is best and fair for our neighborhood and for the city. And also, I'd like to say we will be having our bi-monthly meeting. Our NIA meeting will be November 10th, and it will be at the Red Cross Building on 17th Street at 6:30. Mr. Klinkenberg will be there, and he will be there to answer questions for some of the people in our neighborhood, or concerns or whatever. I feel the more people who are informed, the more they know, and I feel everybody should have a say in what goes on in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Linda Finch, to be followed by Steve Klinkenbeard.
Good evening. I'm Linda Finch, and I live in the Chesney Park neighborhood at 2017 Southwest Clay. And I just wish to voice my opinion as a resident that I am in favor of the federal reentry program. I feel those persons have served their time, and we should try to help them become productive, law-abiding citizens and try to better their lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Steve Klinkenbeard, to be followed by Austin Wingerson.
Good evening. My name is Steve Klinkenbeard, and I'm the purchaser and the owner of 2035 Southwest Western. We purchased that property in April. it was in a deteriorated state. We went in and we fixed it with the understanding that it was in a revitalization zone set by the city. Our intent was to go in and get the building occupied. It's a 42,000 square foot building. There's 16,000 square foot of warehouse space rented at this time. And there was 16,000 square foot of office space, which had been deteriorated, no ceiling tile, no carpets. But what we did is we went and cleaned it up enough to get it to where it was showable. We responded to a RFP from the Kansas Department of Corrections for their Topeka parole office. And as at this point in time, they would take 10,000 square foot of office space in 2930 on the north end. We were then contacted by a local realtor that there was a federal contract being let, which was the Reentry Development Program by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. They looked at the space and they wanted the first floor. I told them that they couldn't have it because we'd already made a commitment to the Kansas Department of Corrections. They then said they would take the upstairs. So what we had was a 16,000 square foot office building that did not have anything in it for 10 years, and within 6 months we had occupants for it. I agree we're not selling Girl Scout cookies in here. I'm not here to say that it's, it's not a, but with all that said, we set out to determine that we could put these folks into this facility. We checked with City Planning Department, and City Planning told us to put a reentry development center in. We had to have a special use permit. We went through that process with City of Faith, and we met the criteria that they had and was recommended for approval by your city planning department. And they basically took us to the woodshed on a lot of things. They increased the cost, but I think they looked out for the best interest of the neighborhood and then the best interest of the community as well. We then went to the Planning Commission, and at the Planning Commission, there was a large amount of opposition about this facility, and it had to do with what was going to happen to the children at the Expo Center. Again, I can't, I have, there's all I can do is say is, it is what it is. But what bothered me about that, and we were turned down 3-2 at the commission, at the Planning Commission. But what bothered me was the next morning, I had a phone call from a representative of the county wanting to buy that property. And the comment was said, we're going to buy this property before that investor puts any more money into it. So we got to looking, and what we found was that building, the 2200 block, or the 2000 block of Western, is in part of the Expo Center expansion plans. And that whole property or that whole block is designed to tear those buildings down and to put in RV parking. We don't know for sure. We have a city that wants it redeveloped, and we have a county.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
You want to take,
I'd like just a couple more minutes just to make the point.
Okay, Sandra Clear moves to allow 2 more minutes. Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you may continue for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I guess the main thing that I want to point out is this is it's confusing to me because I don't know who I should look to. Is it the county? And if the county wants it, then they should come and buy it. If it's the city wants it developed, then they should help us get it developed. So it's very confusing to me. But one final thing I would like to say, City of Faith, which they have facilities in Louisiana, and they have it in Little Rock. They have spent a lot of time and money, and these are good people. And these people came to Topeka with the goal to get this federal reentry program and to set up a good program in the city of Topeka. And I will say that what happened in the commission meeting last Thursday morning at Shawnee County was something where they left and they don't have anything really kind to say about Topeka because they were avalanched with what this program was going to do to the children. We don't believe it has anything to do with the children. We think this has to do with the money. They want that property, and they don't want us to develop it because if they ever do take that property, they're going to have to buy it from us. So we want to develop it. We've got tenants to go in there. The neighborhoods are behind us, and we would ask that you give our our conditional use permit and City of Faith, show them what we're really about in Topeka, that we're not a bunch of people that just basically attacked them. They believe in this program, and they believe that what they're doing is very good for getting these people back into society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next is Austin Wingerson, to be followed by John Mannon.
Hello, Austin Wingerson. Steve talks a lot faster than I do, and he covered a lot of the topics that I wanted to cover. But I wanted to reiterate what he said about what happened at the Planning Commission, and I don't know the entire process. I think they did a fine job, but they were understaffed. The chairman and vice chair were out that day. The planning department helped us a lot out on the CUP, put it all together for us, and as he said, they beat us up quite a bit. About 3 weeks into the 4 weeks that we worked with them, I was wondering, do they really need to know all of this information? It seemed excessive, but by the time we got the, what do they call it? The staff report together for the CUP, I was really impressed. They put together not a compelling argument, an all-inclusive argument to go to the planning committee for our CUP. What bothered us was the entire time we were helping them with the CUP, the staff report, we were told there's 11 criteria that we had to answer why we do or don't qualify for those criteria. And that's what it was all about. But when we got to the committee meeting, it didn't appear that the committee addressed those criteria. There wasn't any discussion. I was impressed today how you guys had so much banter between each other, asking each other questions about, excuse me, about what your opinion is and what your opinion is. It doesn't appear that those 11 criteria that we were told we had to abide by were addressed in the committee meeting. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to happen. But I think that's how it happened. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I think that they were understaffed and it didn't go as it probably usually does. I brought our site plan up, and last time I was here there was an easel. I don't know if I can put it up here and just address a couple items on here.
You just hold it and.
Yes,
so
I
we
can, absolutely.
But you'll have to go by the mic, though. So.
That's our site plan.
Yeah.
That's our site plan. I wanted to point out, I guess, how's this?
Yeah, that's
good.
That's good.
Oh, well, if I could find it. Well, but then I can't point to it. How's that? Okay. No, I got it. So one item that one issue that the county had was
Yeah, we'll get a volunteer. Somebody will
Okay, that would be great.
help you hold it.
So one thing that
Now, go by the mic. Thanks.
Steve, could you go over here, please?
Okay, this is a little bit, all right.
Okay. One thing that the county had brought up to us with the Expo Center being so close, which would be right in this general area, so this is Western Avenue. If you were to go across the street, it would be the Expo Center's land. They were worried about the traffic from City of Faith being close to the Expo Center area, which for City of Faith, their main entrance is here, which would be along the alley from Hampton Street to 20th Street. So this is our property here. This is Western Ave, and then the Expo. So their access to their building is actually down this alley, not on the Expo Center's, not near the Expo Center's property. There is an emergency exit for purposes that we need an emergency exit, but it wouldn't be mainly used. Also, you see their parking here. So their access here along a paved alleyway would be to their parking here, which is fenced off from Fillmore, which was something that the planning department helped us determine needed to happen. They would access here, which is fenced off, and then we have an aesthetic berm going across to give us the 30-foot setback that we needed from Fillmore Street. Let's see, what else do we have? There's existing trees along here for aesthetic reasons as well. There'll be additional planting that we'll need to go through another permit for that, and I'm done. And that's our site plan.
If I could ask, do you also work with Mr. Clinkenbeard?
I'm an owner of 901 Real Estate, which is the company that owns the building, yes.
Okay, thank you. That clarified that. Yeah.
It would be helpful if we could get a copy of that map.
Can we leave it?
Sure, certainly.
It's over here.
We can make.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, next speaker is John Mannon, to be followed by Henry McClure.
I'm going to help you.
I also work with Steve Clinkenbeard and wanted to address the county commission. Their contention was that their concern had to do with the children, and this is a site plan that came from the Expo Center website, which shows their master plan of what they intend for the future. The only area where there would be any children is realistically 2 blocks from where this facility would be, where this red circle is, and we'll leave this, is where 2035 Western is. It's at least 2 blocks from Exhibition Hall and Landon Arena, which would be really the only places there'd be much children activity. But clearly, from this site plan, they have on here additional RV parking. So the county has intended to own this property, and it would certainly appear that's the basis of their complaint about this facility going in there. The only way they can have an RV parking there would be to own this property, and obviously that's a bigger concern to than the children. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Henry McClure, to be followed by Bianca McClure.
Could you pass those down? Bianca is not feeling, she's a little under the weather, but
Okay.
so she won't be here tonight. Hi, my name's Henry McClure, and Bianca and I have embarked on a project here that I think will be good for the community. I think it's a good time to talk about this since politics and government happens to be in the forefront of our minds on a nationwide basis and now on a local scale. I think it's quite interesting and apropos to be here this evening. So the spirit of what we're going to do tonight, Bianca and I, and as a father trying to inspire my daughter to get through college and create a buy-in for her, we want to create a Department of Government at the University of Washburn and endow a chair. And the idea of this is that from now on going forward, I've made a planned gift of $250,000, and I've made a commitment to raise $1 million to endow this chair, so that when you need to go outside, you won't go outside. Our studies, our plans, our needs from government can emanate from Washburn. A neutral party plus your donations to this are tax deductible. So what we start doing is we start instilling buy-in from the children. So they're going to want to stay here and make Topeka part of their community. We do not. Yours is the most close to a compromise, but we've got a guy right here. Why join the Army if you're going to go hire a mercenary? You know, if we're not smart enough amongst ourselves to hire our city manager, it's all based on relationships. And the relationships should come from you guys. Hell, hire Matt Pavarnik. There isn't anybody higher on Topeka than Matt. He's doing a great job. But just have Matt review his resume. He's right here. Let's promote from within. So let's have a better government. Let's not go out and hire a bunch of consultants like the visual preference survey. That was a really good survey we did back when I was a planning commissioner. Dust it off, look at it. Let's just follow some of those plans we put money into. So in McClure tradition, and there's nobody would probably argue that I need a little more education, but in mid-1850s, James A. McClure moved here to be the third guy at the First Presbyterian Church, and then he went around opening up Presbyterian churches, you know, educating the people on the Word. Then Judge James A. McClure got active on the school board after Brown versus Board of Education, and they named the school after him. My dad donated it was his idea to donate old equipment from Channel 13 to create KTWU. So I'm trying to start, you know, let's get the McClure tradition, and then Bianca can follow up with it. So all your donations are tax deductible. Don't go outside anymore. Let's start thinking about how we develop Topeka from within. Also, kind of another side note, I told Jim Klossman he can buy my house for $250,000 because we need to have a footbridge over to that thing. So in the spirit of cooperation, I was here to make a deal. So thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Thank you, Mr. McClure.
Mr. Gerber, did you hire him to
No, let's, next speaker is Thomas Garvin, to be followed by Victoria Garvin. Now we're going to hit the other side. They're opposed, yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Excuse my attire, I came straight from work.
It's fine.
I would have threw my suit in the trunk if I knew I was doing that. Furthermore, this is short notice, so I'm gonna try to do the best I can. I sent out an email to all the council members earlier today. I don't know if it was received, but I'd just like to read that, and then we'll go from there. This is concerning the halfway house that's being built on 20th and Western. My name is Thomas Garvin, and I have recently purchased a house through Habitat for Humanity behind the expo. I have learned that there are plans to try and open a halfway house 1 block over from my home. This concerns us for 2 reasons. The first being the safety concerns about my family. Our neighborhood is very family-oriented, and something like this might disrupt the whole area. My second concern is that if something like this happens, I will never be able to sell my home, at least for what it really would be worth, which means that my family would have taken a loss over a reason we had no control over. With that said, you have to ask yourself if you would allow a halfway house the size of a warehouse in your neighborhood where your kids play, where your family goes on walks, where your family might just be out after dark, where you feel safe. Please vote no on this halfway house. The safety of my family is in your hands. I hope this email reaches everyone in time. Thank you in advance for your time and hopefully your vote. Now, with that said, I read an article in the Capital Journal, which I first seen the article on the WIBW.com website. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have known anything about this. Ann Marshall, who said she's the president of the Chesney Park neighborhood, if she sent anything out, I didn't receive it as far as a meeting that was going on which stated it was September 17th, was that it? At the building. I didn't receive it. My neighbors hadn't said anything about it, so it must have been a silent meeting. I'm just making an assumption because there was a daycare at 19th and Fillmore where we did receive a letter that somebody was trying to open a business. Furthermore, I live at 18th and Fillmore. Not to point fingers, she said she lived at 17th and Lane. That's what, a mile in that direction? And the other woman said she lived at 27th and Clay. That's a mile in that direction. I live right down the street. So Steve Klinkenberg stated, and I quote by the CJ Online, if we improve the building and put tenants into it, I want you to focus on the word tenants. And then as I went on in the same article, the City of Faith, bear with me, City of Faith, the nonprofit agency that's running it, says the nonprofit hopes to win a Federal Bureau of Prisons contract that would move 45 to 60 prisoners to the location. So is it tenants or is it prisoners? Because I'm confused. Furthermore, in the same building, I don't know if it's adjacent or upstairs or downstairs, they want to open a parole office, okay? Now, it also stated that those who have been convicted of murder, sex crimes, or crimes against children will not be housed there. But will that parole offices see those same individuals? That's pretty much what I have to say. You know, it only takes, it takes 8 out of 10 votes to get passed. So all we need is 3 people to say no. That's it. So hopefully you can hear me out with this and vote no. Just let me
That's
state.
the end of your time, unless you feel you need more.
I just want to state one more thing, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Just state
Okay.
your
It
conclusion.
said the city's planning department did a report stating that they have some concerns with the proximity of the facility to a recently approved daycare at Southwest 19th and Fillmore. Furthermore, there is still some uncertainty as whether the nature of this use is its operational characteristics, which will have a negative impact on the neighborhood. And also,
Okay, you're going to have to conclude unless we give you
okay, I'm about to conclude right now.
Okay.
If I may, I'd like to extend another 2 minutes to give the
All right.
gentleman time to
right.
take his time and
It's been moved that we provide an
Excuse me,
extra
sir.
2 minutes. Is there a
Okay.
second? Councilman Jensen seconds.
Okay,
Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes. Okay, you may continue for 2 minutes.
Okay, I apologize for the interruption. I just have one more thing to say. I don't know if anybody's looked into the City of Faith and the other facilities that it's ran, but maybe somebody can look into the crime rate of the area after opening these facilities, and maybe that'll give us some type of insight as which direction to go in.
Okay, thank you
very much.
And Mr. Garvin, what is
Yes.
the address of your residence?
1820 Southwest Fillmore.
I'm sorry.
1820 Southwest Fillmore.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. Thank you.
The next speaker is Victoria Garvin, to be followed by Joe Ledbetter.
if I make a comment. Mr. Garvin, I wanted to clarify something, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I did get your email, but I did want to clarify something. The Chesney NIA neighborhood, they meet quarterly. So it's something that they meet on quarterly, every three months. Every 2 months, I'm sorry. So it's not a secret meeting, so it's probably their NIA meeting where they're discuss it.
Okay, that wasn't clarified in the.
Yes, sir, and I wanted to clarify that for you. I don't think it's a secret meeting. I just know that they meet every other, because I go to those meetings.
Okay.
And they're a good group and a small group, and I don't think anything secretive was done. But I do think that they're looking at it across the board, just like we'll be doing.
Okay, well, I'd just like to say, why did they send out a letter for the daycare and not this halfway house?
And I can't, you can talk to Ms. Marshall, but I can't answer that. But usually they do try to notify the neighbors of what's going on. Okay? Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, that's fine, lovely. Victoria Garvin, to be followed by Joe Ledbetter.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Garvin. I am the mother of Thomas Garvin. And I stand here to say I agree with everything he said. I just want to add a couple things. One is the people that are being integrated in society, those individuals, they do need a place to stay. No one's denying that. But I believe in picking the location, you need to be strategic in that. Okay, so based on the conversation my husband had, who is a 28-year veteran of the Department of Corrections, retiring at the level of captain, he pointed out that Holiday Inn, former Holiday Inn at 10th and Madison, would be a prime location for something of that of a building of that location, and since the county is interested in the building on Western, it just seems to be an optimum deal that if you can give Mr. Clinkenbeard, I guess that's his name, if there's a deal that can be struck, well, you can give him that building, and the county takes Western, it's a done deal. But I do have to say this, when will this be on the agenda? That's my question. When will this come up for a vote on the agenda? Because when I called the city clerk's office this today, she said, well, let me look on the 15th, I think, is the next time. She didn't see it on that agenda. So the question is, when is the next time that this is going to come up for a vote? Because we definitely want to make sure that we are here. And then as far as Beautify East Topeka, we just had people come up and talk about how they want to beautify 29th and Fairlawn. So do you think putting in this halfway house in the middle of a neighborhood is beautifying that neighborhood? And as far as children, they keep talking about the children at Expo Center. There's children in the neighborhood. And if there's a problem that arises, we'll take care of it. That's too late. An ounce of prevention is more than a pound of cure. And so we need to be considerate of the fact that we've got families in that neighborhood. Habitat Humanity has started to invest in that neighborhood. And at this point, I'm telling my son, if that goes forward, there's no need for him to stay in the neighborhood. He needs to find somewhere else to live because the safety of his family is more important than being in the house that he had been blessed with through Habitat for Humanity. One other thing, Mr. Emerson, I got a minute and 22 seconds. The other thing I want to talk about is you talk about Topeka is improving. I live at 3720 Southeast Powell Court, and I live 8 blocks from 29th in California. And that, to me, seems a perfect place for a community improvement district. If you're doing it at 29th and Fairlawn, we need to look at 29th in California because it is a very big eyesore. And I do have ideas about businesses. I have visited, I heard Councilman Hillard say she's been all over Europe and all over. I've been all over the country and been in neighborhoods where they have businesses that fit the model for 29th and California, and be glad to discuss it with anybody that wants me. Thank you so much for your time.
Just to clarify on the schedule, Thursday of this week is when the preliminary agenda comes out. We don't have a meeting next week, so that's why the clerk couldn't respond specifically when this would be on the agenda.
Okay.
So tentatively, it would be the preliminary agenda comes out this Thursday, then a week later is the exact agenda for 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
So I'm sorry we can't say, but that's the process we go through in setting the agenda.
So right now you're saying you don't have it set for the agenda?
That's correct. It tentatively can be on there, but it is not officially on. That's why that is what the answer is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Joe Ledbetter, to be followed by Richard Laird.
I got to follow Henry McClure. Wow, that's cool. I want to give a quote. We will be forever known by the tracks we leave behind. That is a Lakota Sioux proverb. And what I've been trying to do for the last couple months in public comments and I'm glad we had other people here tonight. That's refreshing. I felt so alone sometimes. But what I've been trying to do is set out a path, not just to help Highcrest West, but to help all of the neighborhoods in this city, especially neighborhoods that the average house value is $100,000 or maybe a little less. Those are the neighborhoods that are threatened by slumlords. Those are the neighborhoods that are threatened by a weak response to slumlords. Slumlords that come into a neighborhood like a swarm of locusts descending on a cornfield and just stripping all the value, leaving nothing behind. No value, no tax basis, nothing. Just destroying the neighborhood and laughing about it. Living in Osage County or wherever they live in their mansions. And we've got pictures of those. I showed one to you tonight, some of you. But what I want to talk about tonight is not code enforcement per se, but additional parts of this government that are tied to code enforcement, and if they break down, it doesn't matter what code enforcement does. And that is the municipal court giving continuance upon continuance to slumlords and landlords to fix their properties, dollar fines. This is not a way to resolve a problem. If you go to traffic court, the minimum you're going to get out of there is with $120 court costs. You might get out of the fine, you probably won't. You might have an attorney fee going in there with it, and so you're going to wind up for some infraction paying $400 to $500. And these slumlords don't seem to have any consequences to what happens to them. So we've got to get the courts involved. We've got to get the prosecution involved. And most of all, you've got to get the public involved. If the public is telling you they want code enforcement, listen to them. And tell the government that you expect that. You expect good code enforcement like they have in other cities. And again, I'm not picking on code enforcement per se. I'm saying that there's disjointed parts of the process, and it's got to be complete. It's got to be completely integrated so that when a slumlord goes to court or he's threatened with court, he knows that it's going to cost him a lot of money. And he may not be able to live in a big fine mansion out at South Point, as some of them do, or in Osage County, and thumb their nose at the people of this city. And did you notice they can't even participate in the vote? The homeowners of this city can. They get to vote. I think as a public official, I'd be more concerned about the voters than I would be some slumlord in Osage County. But then that's just me. So anyway, I'm done with my comments on this. I want to thank all the veterans out there. It's going to be Veterans Day before we have another meeting. And there's 16,000 of them in Shawnee County. So if you know one, give them a high five, say, hey, great, later.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Richard Laird.
I'm Richard Laird, live over at 2501 Ohio. You have a sewer project, actually it's 2401. I own 2501 Indiana too. You have a sewer project in progress. The first phase is completed from about 17th Street to 19th Street between Hope and Green Acres. I have refused a right of access on the second half of your project because of the consequences of the first half of the project. One thing that was done was a lot of topsoil was removed. I don't know if anybody's ever studied geology, but if you take out a foot of dirt, you move the frost line down a foot. Buildings have to be built in Kansas footing has to be about 3 feet deep. When you remove the topsoil, then you remove the support for those buildings. 2 garages now have one garage sat there for 50 years until your company came in and did the sewer. That garage is now cracked in half and is moving down the slope that they left. That yard had a lot of dirt in it. The owner of that yard actually hauled in 4 loads after they left. I was surprised when I saw that grading that they did in that area, how they took the yards down. They had a choice. They could have added dirt to the yard next door, but instead they graded down the yard at 1724 Hope. I called those people, sent them a fax, told them that I originally had signed their right of entry, that I revoked that right of entry, and I wasn't going to allow them on my properties until they addressed the issues they created at 1724 and 1728 Hope. Also, when they started that project, there's a 90-foot cottonwood, male cottonwood tree at 1732 Hope. And I said, well, can you save that tree? Not many male cottonwoods. They don't plug up your air conditioners, and it was huge. It was 90 foot tall. They said, well, sure. Well, they could save $1,000 at least by not taking down that tree. When they dug the trench, they dug right beside the trunk. They took half of the roots of that tree. When I saw the trench, I thought, wow, that's not saving a tree. You can't do that. Not a 90-foot tree and cut off half the roots. Well, that tree has come down, took down the power lines that feed that area because it was tall enough to reach over the high power lines. Took them down one night and has crashed the fence between 1732 and 36 in that area. So I'm not going to let them do my properties until somebody addresses that. I called your people about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I got a call pretty quick. Got 1 minute.
You have 1 minute.
And so, but that guy says, well, I'll have somebody else call you back, or I'll take care of it. Was a week later, he was supposed to call me back during that week. A week later, I got another call from a different guy. And I told him, I said, why is this so complex? This is simple geology. It's freeze and thaw cycles. If you take the dirt away from something, if you put a fence post in the ground and you don't get it down in below the frost cycle, after a while, that fence will lean down the slope. Standard geology, little simple stuff. Freeze and thaw, water moves, water expands 9% when it freezes. Anyhow, so that's cut to the chase right quick. I've refused them entry. They have not called me back. I sent them a fax detailing what they did. I have had no response from them. Maybe they can go around my properties, but I own 3 houses on your second phase of your project. Want to hear any more?
Are you finished?
That's pretty close.
We will look into this.
Any questions? Okay.
We'll look into this, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That completes the public comment for tonight. We do have one executive session if the city attorney would provide the parameters for us.
The motion would be for the governing body to recess into executive session for a period of 15 minutes to consult with the city's legal counsel regarding attorney-client privilege matters. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: Interim City Manager Doug Gerber, Assistant City Attorney Nick Jefferson, and myself.
Okay, those are the parameters. Councilman Emerson moves and Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
Ms. Ortiz?
Cohen?
Yes or no?
Okay. We have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 8 pass. We will go into executive session when the room is clear.